So they will have perfected the art of stealing.
Yeah.
No wonder they won't give you your bursary. Because they have been stealing, they stole in class 8, they steal in Form 4, they go and steal in the university, fake certificates, then they go and steal elections, then they steal, and they keep stealing because Kenyans, unfortunately, we have come to believe that shortcuts is the way. If we are going to be sustainable and have a future, we must change this culture. And it is not a person somewhere, it is you as an individual, it is I as an individual. Wherever we find ourselves, let's do the right thing. We will not need laws like we didn't need them in those days. We will not need them.
It's a people.
Yeah?
It's a you and I.
It's I and you, Latif.
Who agrees? Okay. Let's hear from the gentleman with the striped t-shirt there. You'll stand up, tell us your name and what institution, organization you represent.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bishop. I am Emmanuel Barare, representing the Youth League of ANC, and I'd like to agree in the existence of these governance structures being in place. However, we really need to introspect as a country on fabric of our belief system, because it starts from what do we believe in as a people, because we do know what the law says, but whatever will usher our decision will be based on what we believe. So how can that be looked into to have a whole a whole people who actually have a focus on what they believe in and actually hold that to have.
A person seated in front of us cannot arrest a governor, or even if he proposes to be arrested, he doesn't have the final say. So most of our structures are toothless. That is number one. Number two, Latif, when you ask me if I will take the 80,000 shillings, I will take it. Because the government has failed me. There are no services. There's no money in our pocket. There is no incentives and subsidies in our businesses. There's no employment for the youth. That is what we trusted them with. They're not doing it. So what should I do? So the structure, I don't want Bishop to start pretending that he wants to place the blame on the citizen. The blame should be on the citizen. Bishop has been given a responsibility and is being paid by our taxes. Then he should make sure that his structure performs its function to totality. Thank you. Davis Binoloj from Nyakash, ODM party.
Thank you. We get your point. One more. At the back. Umeinua mkono. Usiinue mkono hivi. Inua mkono.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Karieri. I'm a student at the University of Nairobi, MSc, not attached to any organization. So we have talked about structures. You've talked about structures and values. There are some who say that we have the structures, but they are being misused by those in power. And my good friend has put it very well that they are, and there are those who say that we have the wrong values. We don't have the values that promote.
We try a different mic. Try holding it like this. You imekata. Imekukataa kabisa. Try this one. If this one doesn't work, just sit down.
So we are saying that we need better values. So how do we achieve values that promote accountability and responsibility to those in government and towards the citizenry? And my good friend has said that if he had an option of taking the 80,000, that he would take it because the government has failed him. I think I should add my 2 cents there, that we Kenyans concentrate more on what the government can do for us and what the government should do for us. We never asked the question that JFK asked his people, that what can you do for your country? So I think it's upon us with the young people to look for things to do for our country instead of the other way around. Thank you.
Asante sana. So Bishop, the question is on accountability, right? The role of the citizen to hold government to account, and the role of the government to be responsive to and also just be accountable to the citizen, because that will come into what he asked, it will come into what he's saying, and it may also come into what he's asking.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Faith Maura, and I sit at the board of CMD. I just want to say that we can sit here and talk until the cows come home about accountability, the structures in government, or for those who believe we don't have. But it all is going to come down and boil down to who are you as a person? Do you need that structure to do the right thing? Must you have the law in place for you to know what is moral or what is not? I think we better have a conversation on where do we want to be? Where do we want to go? And I think any one of us sitting here, it's already too late, because I love his honesty about, he said he will take the money. Probably 97% of us seated here will take the money. The ones who didn't put up their hand or whether they would make a decision on how fast, probably thought that 80,000 was too little. Had it been more, then I would have raised my hand, you see? So I want to give us a challenge. Let us speak to the next generation, the people who are not yet born, the children who are not yet born. Let us take it upon ourselves to teach them the right way. Because if we do that, we'll have left the earth a better place. But it's too late for any of us seated here.
I think we're all gone. Bishop, respond to this.
Let me start here. It is not too late, and it is never too late. I get what you are saying. I get what you are saying.
If you don't take that, the next one will take it.
No,
And
no.
it's going to be a small.
Let me give you a practical example. In 2002, in 2003, when the NAC government came into leadership, almost every government minister set out to bring about change and reforms in their sector. One that is known by all of us, at least, is one John Michuki. John Michuki came into an industry of transport where the matatus had gone rogue. The President Moi had tried ways and means, including introducing Nyayo bus to compete with the matatus, to try and bring sanity into that arena. It did not work. But when Michuki took a stand and said, Kenyans, we need to rectify the way we travel in our public transport. And he called on us as ordinary wananchi that we join together and change how public transport is run in this country. And Kenyans agreed to do that. I remember here in Nairobi, people walked for almost a week. They refused to take matatus. What happened? Things changed. We sat in matatus and put on seatbelts. We traveled in comfort. It is never too late. The old, the young, the poor and the rich, we all join together and say, we need this change.
The spirit was right.
Huh?
The spirit was right.
So what I'm saying is that if Kenyans could agree at that time to tame the matatu industry, and it happened, which was completely rogue, I think we have gone back to the same. It is possible to change. At that time, every piece of land that belonged to the government had been grabbed. The minister, then Minister for Roads, Honorable Raila Odinga, also came out and said, we are clearing all roads. Are you together? And people said, it cannot happen. Then they started demolishing buildings, including the big ones. When people in Ruai and Ruiru saw that houses in Kuna and other places were being demolished, they went and demolished their own. Are you together? I'm just giving a few examples. Saitoti, Honorable Saitoti, came out and said, all children must go to school. And children went to school. My brothers and fellow Kenyans, we cannot surrender ourselves to the place where we are in. We are going to die. We must come up and say, things must change. And those changes that I've given you examples, and I can give you more examples because I was there, were implemented because we as the public rallied behind the leaders to make sure it happened. But as long as we are cynical, as long as we are saying it can't happen, as long as we are saying, oh, as long as we are saying it's government, it will not happen. Let me use a word that is not politically correct. Revolutions are not done by government. Revolutions are done by the people. People who have got to the place where they are tired, they are sick of the way things are happening. As long as we are comfortable with corruption, as long as we are saying we can take the 80,000, as long as we are happy with fake certificates, as long as we are happy with paying for services that we are not supposed to pay for, as long as we, this country is going to go down. So what I'm calling upon us today, let's take the spirit of this country is ours. It doesn't belong to any politician. It doesn't belong to any person. And we can take it back and say we are not going to tolerate. Imagine if all of us say today, and very soon we are going to come to you to rally you together, to say, I'm not going to pay any bribe to any person. Suppose all of us say that. Where will it happen? It will not happen. Who bribes the police officer? It is us, isn't it? Suppose we all agreed that we are not going to give any bribe to any police officer. We are not going to give any money to any government officer. It will not happen. But as long as you are willing, because you want a quick win for yourself, quick fix for yourself, we are going to go down, and this ship is going to sink with all
of us. Bishop, then that comes to the question of accountability.
Yes.
Right? Because we have given ourselves a constitution. We have created the structures. We have donated some powers and responsibilities to those in government, such as yourself. And then we pay tax to facilitate that the services come back down to us. How do we make sure that those that we have given those responsibilities perform them and they don't come back to us with cutting corners and stories.
That's what I'm talking about. That is exactly what I'm talking about. If your member of parliament has begun the CDF to come and distribute to the needy people in your constituency, and this member of parliament now begins to use this money for whatever reason, campaign. Some of them have even, they give you a check with their name on the back, and they give you books with their names on it, and things like that. You as a community can stand up against that member of parliament and say, we are not going to accept this. Are you together? Mm-hmm. If you do that, that thing will stop, at least in your constituency. Madam, what you are talking about earlier, it will stop. But as long as the person who gets the 5,000 or 3,000 or whatever, is happy, and you who has not got, you go and grumble back in your house, the thing will continue. It will continue. So my call to us is, these leaders are not our bosses. These leaders are our servants. If your house girl is stealing from you, what will you do? Will you say you are toothless?
Anaenda hapo halali kwa hiyo nyumba.
Halali kwa hiyo nyumba. Mbona wetu wanalala kwa nyumba zetu? Why is it that for us, our house girls are sleeping in our houses and they are stealing from us? Why? Because we are thinking, Sasa, this house girl has a panga. She can cut me the night. Madam. Yes. So we are afraid. So I are cool too. What can I do? This girl has a knife. I don't know what she could do to me at night. So I'll let her eat the children's food. That's the spirit that Kenyans we have.
Okay.
So Latif, I may not be saying things the way people want to say it, because I know it is easier to blame government, it's easier to blame world systems, but we as Kenyans, let's take this country back and make these systems to work. It will work.
The two ladies really want to respond to this.
I'm glad you said that, and I love your absolute stand that it can be done. But I believe for it to be done, it needs to be a lot more. We need to stop thinking that it's only specific people who can say and it's done. Because other politicians and say something and people are like, what was that guy even saying? But it takes a few and far in between for the whole system to change. And then we go back to normal 5, 10 years later. But for this to happen, it needs to be an ongoing conversation. Every day you must know that this is the way of life, and then we can say it can change. And I don't even want people to blame government. Government is you and me. But there's nothing like government. It's us who give power to the few who have come out to say we want these seats, and then we now start looking at them like they're a different kind of animal. But I'm telling you, the power is with the people, and they're the ones who decide. So I believe the people are the bad ones, and the politicians are just a reflection. If the people are good, the politicians will be super.
Thank you.
Maybe, Bishop, I just want to give my own history.
Yes.
In 2002, remember I come from West Pokot.
Yes.
In 2002, when elections were happening, NAC had come in, KANU is in power. And my county was fully KANU. And I was in university. And when the announcements were being done and the sword was being given in Uhuru Park, we were in our own homes. We would see on TV. And I remember very vividly, tears rolling. I was seeing Moi going, and I'm thinking, sasa Moi wetu ameendaki. You know? So, and I was just a young person. But inside me, I was feeling like Moi is going, probably I would be very useless. Just wait. just some 3 months to come after power, West Pokot was liberalized. You know, free primary education was there, and people are going to school, whether you have dress or you would go the way you are, and things started changing. The spirit was right, and this is what I was telling you before. So I started thinking, oh, kumbe mimi, when I was crying about Moi, so it was me who was outside alone. So I joined the bandwagon and started working towards free primary education. Some years later, when Kibaki was leaving, West Pokot, probably for the first time, had a lot of graduates, because you would look for 1 or 2 graduates before then. You would even find that probably people who are joining police, they would pick from class 6, 7, 8 because of equalization. And of course, you know, you are from Moi's region. So I want to tell you the spirit was right. This time, the spirit is wrong. There is something wrong. And it starts from the leadership. So you can imagine if one minister is fired and aligns himself to one leader in government, and in the next government, she or he is a governor. And once a governor is what do we say? When they remove a governor, when he is impeached, he aligns himself to someone in the government. In another few days, he's speaking in podiums like he's a great guy. So this is the spirit. The leadership is wrong. And because we've been entrenched into that, so can you give us more of probably civic education, take to the people, and the people who will change are not the ones in town. They are those ones who are in grassroots. Those are the ones that will change us. So I believe partly with you that yes, it can happen, but if we who know what is right, if we don't go to the people, then it will not change. The people on the ground are fearful, intimidated, there's quite a lot of stigma, and they are feeling, wale wameenda Nairobi, hao ndio wanajua, sisi hatujui, so tunyamaze.
Thank you. So it's a power of example.
Yes, thank you, Bishop Latif. I'm Jared Oye from ODM Youth League. I love how Bishop was bringing it, how Tutu government was formed. It was governance. If you're very keen, that's maybe the transformative actions were felt in all ministries. Today, you are getting strong. I think we have the wrong governance at the helm of our leadership. That is one. Second, when you talk about structure, I think our structures are not properly coordinating. I think there's a point where they had a in-house fight. So that's also one thing that may be hitting us. To our integrity, it starts with our political leaders, those whom we are donating power to. There's the tax lady there. We pay tax to expect them to deliver back the services to us, but we get the opposite. So after doing all our part, those who I'm expecting to give direction, they disappoint us. Then the same way Bishop was saying it, but now we wananchi ndo tuamue, we be the change. Well, those whom we have donated power to lead and give directives are failing us. So it is governance and then uncoordinated structures that we are having.
Thank you very much.
Let
leadership.
me add something on what he has said. We cannot trust a government that, in the other government, when Kibaki was there, we were having the free education. Uhuru comes, also supports the free education, introduces also some parts of free secondary education. Then here Ruto comes and dismisses all and asks the parents to assist us in paying the fee. So you see, this structure, somebody comes up with a Huduma number. Then somebody comes up, when somebody takes the government, he rubbishes all those things and comes back with another thing. So you see, we cannot work with this. These things, they don't exist. They are fixtures. So that is the thing that we mean. We cannot trust. Sasa hivi vijana wanajituma wanafanya kazi. Wewe umetuma DCI wanatufuata sada. So the only problem to vijana kuomoka ni DCI. This will keep off.
Let me give you the mic.
Hi guys, good afternoon. Is it afternoon?
Yes, it is, of course.
It's afternoon.
Hamjambo kila mtu. Mimi naitwa David Thuku na present UDA and I'm here because of ni kitu moja mimi kutoka kusema venye mkubwa wetu ametoka kutuambia Bishop and kila kitu change na wewe unaweza bring the government but wewe mwenyewe ndio una activate hiyo kitu troll force. Most of the things ni sisi who activate. Today we are supposed to sit here kuambia mkubwa wetu the challenge tuna face zenye kwa ground because already tuko na constitution, tuko every zote ni sector zote ziko na governance zao, si ndio? So what is there, we need just to talk ni nini solution tunaweza pata kama ni kwa education. Just say the problem that is there, anafanya nini? Tunafanya kusikizana. Sawa sawa. But kitu nafanya kuambia, I'll give you a testimony. Me am one of the people wenye wameleleo children's home where I felt the society haindiki. Sawa sawa. So leo hii mimi nikikaa hapa najaribu kuangalia back then from the street kuleleo children's home, nimetoka tena nimepata community ingine. Unajua nimekaa nikapata vitu vine change. Sawa sasa najaribu kuingia kwa system nyingine. Leo hii my boss nitafanya kwa mimi au jazo ni request. Kwa everything that you are doing right now, you are supposed to go back kwa sababu tuko na generation nyingine mpya. Generation yenye sasa hata mtu wa 20 years anaweza kuwa governor, true or false. Si ni kweli? Generation yenye iko saa hii ni mtu anaweza kalia hata kiti yenye umekalia. But you see kama mtu kwa mume wa educate to go back to the community pale kwa kijiji pale hivi itakuwa ni kwa sababu tutakuwa wanaenda kwa system yenye ilitoka, unaona. But if it can take back to the high school and you help those kids to understand constitution iko hivi, system hivi ndio inafaa kufanywa, kwa sababu hata sasa ukikuja ufix gari yenye ni BMW wezi patia system ya nini ya Probox, si ndio? So that is only what I can just say. We need to go back kwa community directly to educate them. Thank you.
Civic education. Pass it to the taxpayer.
Just for clarity, it's a civil society organization, not aligned with any political party.
No, you're aligned with the citizens.
Yes, I am for the citizens. So I have another, it's a concern.
Confess that.
Yeah, it's a question or a concern. So it's in line with morality and the high cost of living. So most mwananchi wa kawaida right now is barely surviving. Like we are struggling to survive. And then if like it reaches a point, you either die or you look for whatever is there in whatever way. In political science, we say the end justifies the means. It doesn't matter how you get it, but you have to survive. You have to get food on your table. You have to feed your kids. They have to go to school and all those things. So what do we do in such a situation where we feel like we have to compromise our morality to survive as citizens?
Oh, so the circumstances are forcing you to be immoral or to lose your values?
Not really.
You have your values, but then because hauna chakula, so you lose your values.
The best
or you compromise your values because of your circumstance.
If you're lacking the basic needs, food, clothing, and shelter, and the government is not stepping in that place for you, so what happens in that place? Most time people compromise. Unapata watu ibiana tao. It's just to find a way to survive.
Do you think that's the reason why, first of all, do we have a problem with values in this country? Yes, hands up. If you think our value system is eroded as a country. Yeah? So is it as a result of directly the circumstances, failed governance, failed leadership? Is it as a result of where we find ourselves in? We are still at the bottom of the pyramid where we're struggling with the basics, feeding yourself, clothing yourself, sheltering yourself? Is that the reason why our moral values deteriorated over how many years?
When Bishop was doing exams, I think there was more equity at that time. So there was no that this parent felt their child needed to cheat to get into high school, there was probably enough room in the schools for any student who had done well to go in there. But now we don't. It's everyone for themselves.
Bishop, how many universities were there when you were doing CPE? One university, this one. How many primary schools were there in your division? If you compare to today.
Oh yeah, there were still many.
So were there many? Were there many secondary schools that all of you could have moved into the secondary schools and fitted? All of them were the same, the secondary schools? Was there equity in education?
There was equity in the sense that there was a sense of equity in the sense that if you did your exam and you passed well, you went to the school where you deserved to go. So
there are people who did not deserve to go to certain schools because of how they performed.
yes,
Why?
because
Why?
yes, because
And this school that you deserve to go, if you say, for example, the then schools were provincials and the national schools, and then the others were the local Harambee schools.
because you see when you talk about equity, is not equality. Equity is that every person gets what they deserve. That's equity. So if you genuinely got an A, you could go to a school where the A will take you.
Okay,
And it was almost automatic.
okay.
If you got a D, then now you go to the
Harambee,
Harambee school that was in the neighborhood.
okay.
And that was a sense of equity in the sense that you wouldn't complain because that is how far your capacity can take you. But that did not mean that you could not survive or rather succeed in life.
Yeah.
Because there are people who went to those kinds of schools and then ended up doing very well because exams are not a very good assessment of a person's capacity. Because you may have been sick at that particular time, something may have been wrong, and there once in a while those things happen. But there are people who went to those schools and they did very well and they ended up in the university. There are others who went to the what we now
national
call
schools.
TVET.
Yeah.
You know, you went
The
to a
vocational
technical,
trainings.
vocational training schools. You got skills, and they made it in, succeeded in life. Some of them ended up at technical, what do you call it, the Kenya Polytechnic. At that time, yes. Now it is a university. Then it was not a university, where you could actually go and do up to higher national diploma in your particular area,
Yep.
and it was the equivalent of a degree. So I think what was there is that you felt that you got what you deserved.
So what led to the decay in the moral values?
Yes, the decay begins when people, what I was talking about earlier, personalize that which belongs to everybody, you know? So that what you find now, in some cases, I have a child, I know the capacity of this child. Maybe there's a C or sometimes even a D.
Yep.
But because I'm the chairman in a government institution, I call alliance. And I say, Madam Headmistress, Principal, please, my child. So because I'm in the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, she fears that I might one day go and check her school. So she takes my child. Are you together?
Yep.
She takes my child, goes there. Whether my child is capable or not, that doesn't matter, but they are already there. One of the things that does, it dilutes the quality of performance in that particular school. I still do the same to the university, because my child now has gone to Alliance, but has not got the grade that is deserving. But I call the vice chancellor of another school and say, my boy here did not do very well, but I think he can try. He can improve.
There's potential.
Yeah, he has potential. I know this boy. It's just circumstances. So the boy is taken to university. You know?
Yeah.
So that whole thing keeps going on. And what is happening? People are observing. And some people are feeling, I worked so hard, I didn't go to Alliance. But this boy who was in my class, who I beat in exam, has ended up in the same school. So those kinds of things begin to erode the value system, begin to erode the confidence in our structures, governance system, and people begin to take shortcuts. And now we have got to the place where this shortcut thing has become our culture. So that even in situations where you don't need a shortcut, I normally joke that Kenyans, even when they want to go and pay electricity bill, they ask, do you know anybody in Kenya Power? Isn't it true?
That's true.
Yes. Instead of just taking your money, go to Kenya Power and pay your bill together. But there is, my friend, do you know anybody in Kenya Power? I need to go and pay my bill. Tunaumizwa na nani? So what I'm saying is this. This culture has to change. That is what I was asked about.
Yeah.
When we talk about sustainability, we cannot sustain our country with this culture.
The fabric is wrong.
It is going to finish us. And the change is not going to start with people we are calling government. The change is going to start with me as an individual. Let me give you again a personal example. The same 2003, when the Michuki has put his roots. So I'm traveling home to the village. So I go to Kisumu, I go to the bus stop, I get a matatu, and we get in, we are going the way towards Busia. The matatu takes 14 people. So we enter and we sit, we tie our seat belts. As we get just outside of Kisumu, the matatu stops, picks one person. Now we are 15. Just a little distance, there's a police officer. The guy comes out, they greet one another, and we go. A few, maybe 100 or so meters away, we pick another person. By the time we are getting to where are they sitting is the question. Where were they sitting before Michuki? That's where they were sitting. So by the time we are getting to Maseno, we had taken another almost 4 people. And what were they doing? Giving money to the police officer. So I was there with my sister, my younger sister. And I said, we cannot allow this to continue. So I told the conductor and the driver, if you stop again to pick any other person, utaniona. I was not a bishop that time.
Utanijua.
Utanijua. Yes. So he thought I was joking. So we go to Maseno, and they stop to pick another person. After I said what I said. So there was this lady who was now coming in to the matatu. I was so angry with her, I involuntarily slapped her. I said, don't you see that this matatu is full? So she was very shocked. So the conductor then came now and said, now, kuna mtu hapa anajifanya nini, hatutaenda na yeye. I said, you are not going to get any other person into this matatu. Because when I came from Kisumu, we agreed by taking us to Busia, 14 people, according to the law. Now we are 18. Pesa ya police. Okay? So we refused. Now, when my sister is the only one who joined me in this fight, the rest of the passengers were very quiet. They were very quiet.
They didn't even look at you.
Okay. So when we stopped, so now the conductor is saying hatutaenda, then that's when the other people came and say, what he is saying is correct, let us not go. You people are putting us like sardines and so on and so forth. So we all rioted. So these people actually said, now we can't, if we don't take any more passengers, we will not go to Busia. I said, we are not going. So they offloaded us.
All of you.
All of us. Because there was another matatu that was going towards Kisumu and it was empty. So they stopped it, gave us to this matatu to take us now to Busia. So we entered and we went. So they started doing the same thing. I told them, do you know why we were left there? They never picked any other person until we got there. I was not a police officer. I was not the chairman of ethics and anti-corruption.
the Democratic Action Party of Kenya, and I'm the youth senator of Trans Nzoia. So I have three things. First of all, you talked about erosion of our values. To me, if you ask me about eroding of our values, I'll always say the problem that we have as a country starts from the family level. And when talking about our norms and our values, we shouldn't just talk about, let's tell our youths we revisit our values and our norms, when we are not going to recheck where did the problem begin from. Even in a family, let's say you have 3 kids. Nowadays, you'll find as a parent, if you want to send your child, you must give your child incentives to send that, such a child to the supermarket. And if tomorrow you don't give that child incentive, he'll tell you, mama leo misiendi, mbono usitume so and so. Reason being, we have taught ourselves the culture of incentives. Second thing comes in as a result. The other day we saw somebody said, the G4S guys, the Wells Fargo G4S, they sold around 94 million. I'll tell you, even a youth today, pay your pesa, atapotea nayo. You cannot tell a youth, you're paying them a salary of 34,000 shillings, and then you're giving that person to guard 100 million.
Why not? Why not?
You can't. You're tempting even
Why not?
individual. No, you're tempting them.
You want the youth to be paid 84 million?
No, you
so they
cannot
don't
tempt-
steal
Okay,
it?
we're not saying you pay them 94 million. The thing is, we have to recheck our remuneration system. Just the same scenario. We usually hear bankers have stolen money and so forth. You cannot pay for somebody 44,000, and that person every day he holds like around 20 to 30 million. At the end of the day, that person will have that sense of he'll be tempted to steal. And then also we talked about our education system. Somebody said Kibaki had his own reforms, Uhuru came with his own reforms, and then also Ruto came with his own reforms. He scrapped off the entire 2 presidents' reforms. My proposition is just simple. Let's come up with an independent education reform system so that even if a new president comes into place, he won't be able to change the reforms that were set in place by that independent body, so that we don't have all these confusions that goes on. For example, you'll find the education system that I underwent is not the same education system that Bishop underwent. And it's not the same education system our children are taking nowadays. That's why you'll find, for example, you go to Todonyang in Turkana, and then you tell a Todonyang woman, like he's supposed to teach their kid CBC. Mtu hajai kanyaga shule. What is that? So at the end of the day, the confusion that we're having in the education system comes by as a result of us not having an independent reformed body. Thank you.
Bona Youth Senator, I'd like you to respond to something that Bishop has challenged us. The power of one. With his own example, we are not going to allow you to stop and have more people. What do you say to that?
You're not allowed.
The example that he gave with the matatu, him and his sister, telling the matatu crew, we will not allow you to have more people boarding on this matatu. It was the power of one and saying, I refuse for this to happen.
Okay, we can have the power of one, I don't dispute that, but the problem comes in. Let me give you a simple example. You work in a parastatal, right? You're an administrator. Then somebody comes and tells you, the CEO said you do this and that. You refuse, tomorrow you're fired. You as a Kenyan, where are you going to get another job? And the way you know, to get a job in Kenya, it's an uphill task. You can take around 10 to 20 years to get a job in Kenya after graduation. So the problem comes in, we don't dispute we can stand for ourselves. But the problem comes in, you find there's the bigger person there who will always challenge your authority as a younger person. So at the end of the day, it's not that we don't have a say, we can have a say. But also, this say has to be, to some extent, we have to be motivated by our elder guys who are standing with us. Because let me give you a simple scenario. As youths, we say today we are going to the streets, we are going to demonstrate about this and that. We are youths here. Let's say, for example, Bishop. We say tomorrow, all youths are going to say, we don't want Bishop in that office. Reason being, Bishop did this and that. Let me tell you, police watatupiga viboko hii town. Reason being, there's someone somewhere.
So what are you saying?
What I'm trying to say is, at the end of the day, as young people, even if we stand on our own, we say the power of one person. You'll always find one person who wants to curtail your voice to be heard.
And so?
And in such a scenario, if you cannot have a backup, guys who can support you, like to spearhead that, like what you want. At the end of the day, this is where you're going.
Let me say something.
Please, and then we'll hear from the students.
I think just to respond to what our friend is saying, our friend here has just said he's a descendant of the Mau Mau. What the Mau Mau did was to sacrifice their lives for the sake of the future. As long as you're not willing to sacrifice that job for the sake of integrity, then this country will never change. The example I gave, I was willing to be dropped off at Maseno, possibly pick another vehicle, but ensure that in my presence, evil is not taking place. So what we are saying is, for change to take place, some of us will have to sacrifice. The pain of change is that you sacrificed the comforts of today for the benefits of tomorrow. So when we are talking about a transformed Kenya, where our children and our children's children can enjoy a better life, it means that we who are here today, at whatever age, in whatever space you are in, we have come to that place where we are saying, things cannot continue like this. I am going to personally take a stand in the place where I am. The job that you will lose is a sacrifice you pay. When your child asks you, Daddy, why are you not going to work? You can proudly tell them, that is because I stood against evil. That, just that word that you have said to that child, you have instilled something in them. That they will know that evil, to stand against evil is expensive, but it is worth it. Than if you took that money and now you go and pay for them a very nice school fees in a very nice school. But your conscience is disturbing you because of what you have already done. And not just that, you have perpetuated the system that is going to undermine the future of the nation. So when we talk about sustainability, it comes with sacrifice. And we as Kenyans, we need to learn to sacrifice. Why are people faking degrees? Why are people buying and taking bribes? Because we don't want to sacrifice. I am driving on the streets here. A light turns red. A Kenyan can't wait 60 seconds. You know, these lights these days, they tell you how many seconds are there. And it shows you 60 seconds.
And counting down.
How long is 60 seconds? It's 1 minute. It is 1 minute. It is 60 seconds.
Yes.
But a Kenyan can't wait for 60 seconds. Do you get what we are talking about?
Yep.
And if you cause an accident, how long will you be there? 60 days.
Yeah.
Because you will even go to court, you will do what, you know, and 60 months. So this sacrifice of 60 seconds is what will bring order into society. And that's the country, that's the nation that we want to build. That's the country that we want to build. And it will take some of us, some paid with their lives. If what our friend there is saying is true, these people paid with their
lives.
So that we can have a nation, an independent nation today. If they say, hey, sasa mimi nikifa watoto wangu, we would still be under colonization.
True. Wangari Maathai's book,
What did she talk about? The hummingbird, right? And the example that she gives is, if that bird was saying, oh, you know, I'm just like a small bird, if the other birds are not going to fetch water, how are you going to put out this fire? Would it happen? It's your own individual sacrifice. When Giuliani sang, what did he say? Niko njaa hata siwezi, hohehahe, niko tayari, not two, niko tayari kulipa gharama, sitosimama maovu ya kita. Not tuko njaa, sisi mayouth hatuwezi simama, mayouth tuko hohehahe, shagala bagala, Nico. Let's hear from the young man.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Latifa. Thank you, Bishop. Thank you, fellow panelists. My first question to the Bishop is...
Your name, please.
Oh, my
and the
name
school.
is Adolf Bruno, schooling at Alliance High School right now. So my first concern is one, how many me's are out there when he talked of, it starts with me? So the question is, how many me's are out there, and to what extent are they willing to sacrifice? And what is our attitude towards the me's out there? Take, for example, a certain university in Kenya some time back, there was a whistleblower raising concerns about corruption in the institution. What happened? He was laid off. Then shortly after, celebrated kidogo. Then after that, that was it. So again, have you ever seen a whistleblower being given an EGH, an MBS during a national holiday to appreciate their standing out? So again, it's a question of our attitude towards these whistleblowers. We are talking about structures and values. Let me talk about values briefly. It all boils down to culture. What is inculcated in the young one? I'm still young. We go to the bank. I'm seated somewhere. You're supposed to deposit a check. Then there's a queue. You jump the queue. I'm learning. I'm like, okay, so in life there are shortcuts. So again, it boils down to what you adults teachers and the culture you inculcate in us as we grow up. So it all boils down to culture and the morality and all those things. With regards to structures, I singled out three key structures, talk of the EACC, the DPP, and our judiciary, for example. The other day I had Twelin Barak, the chair, EACC, complaining
CEO.
of... The CEO.
He's the chair.
He's the chair, okay. The CEO complaining of backlogs up until around 2016. So there's these huge cases to be processed, and they have to liaise with the DPP, and again, the Judicial Service Commission and the judiciary, and it's a whole complicated thing. So we find at the end of it all, these systems and structures tend to overlap a lot, not clearly understanding their roles in executing justice, and a way forward may be a clear distinction between what this structure ought to do, and probably coming up with a way of following up and ensuring they actually deliver and give the citizens their due. Thank you.
Makofi tafadhali, makofi. Don't say he deserves, clap for him. He deserves a laminated degree from your end. He's in alliance deservedly, right?
Yeah, we can hear.
We can hear. Let's hear from the other student. You'll stand in a way that you face the camera.
Thank you. Muiruri Ryan Gigi, The Alliance High School. Just to preempt my question, I'll begin with a very short story. 6 humans trapped by trash pens in a forest under a dying fire. One looks over the other 5. He sees that they are white. Knowing that racism has been a part of his life, he refuses to give his log just to keep the fire burning. The second one, poor, looks at the other one, the rich ones. This has been a life that he has faced of a poor background, and he refuses to give his log just to keep the fire burning. The third one, looking across the fire, sees other 5 who are not from his church, not from his religion, decides not to give the log. The other one, looking at the other 5, judging that they're not from his tribe, decides not to give his log, and the rest and the rest. Paul, my question really is on the challenges that we face as Kenyans. Poverty, ignorance, and disease are what the late Mzee Jomo Kenyatta and his government deduced as the main challenges that face us at the moment. Right now, we still have this poverty, ignorance, and disease, and may I add corruption. So my question really is, what are we as Kenyans at an individual level doing to handle these main challenges that are facing us? And what ethics are we putting on the line to make sure that these main challenges are being answered? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause, please. Another student. So we're coming to close the session because we've been here for a while. Usinifanyie hivi bwana. Unainua mkono hivi na heshima bwana. It's like,
yes, thank you very much, everybody. I am Onyango Lennox Ndeda, a 5th year Bachelor of Engineering in Civil Engineering, that is Structural Statics and Structural Dynamics, with a tincture of radio astronomy and astrophysics. Yes, so my question, Bishop, you are a theologian, and you have seen that, you said that, I don't know, is it the mic or I'm just talking slow? Can you increase my pitch, please? I'm too humble.
We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so, Bishop, you noticed that during the Reformation era, Martin Luther, Germany, 95 papal theses, you also explore the Augsburg Confession by Philip Melanchthon and Calvinism. That is what led to Protestant, and you are a bishop in a Protestant prerogative. When you see the Bible translation, how it occurred, John Wycliffe, William Tyndale, and until it was the time of King James VI, and whenever you find it authentically printed in the Library of Congress, you know what it states in the dedicatory. My question that arises again is that ESCC, DPP, we normally say that there are dogs that can bark and have no dental formula to bite. So, revolution, as you are stating, can only and only happen within the realms and prerogatives of a biting potential. So, as much as talk about that one, talk about the countries that were never colonized or are colonized, as the 2 young men have stated. Battle of Adowa in Ethiopia, Battle of Saratoga in the Caribbean, talk of Battle of Waterloo, Napoleon Bonaparte with the European forces. It occurred because they had a teeth to bite. So ESCC, until it is given powers to execute, I don't know how execute is the right word, or to prosecute and execute simultaneously. Yes, revolution won't happen. So pursuant to time, permit me to stop there. Onyango Lennox Ndeda, 5th year. Thank you.
Thank you. Bishop, respond to these issues. Right.
Manoja Turua. Onyango, hello. Lennox.
5th year.
Thank you, 5th year. In engineering, but he understands theology and corruption. Thank you very much. That is very true, what he has asked about the empowering systems. When I started my presentation, I said I was going to take this from a very different angle, from a broad perspective. And I deliberately chose not to focus on systems, failures of governance structures, and so on, because that's where Kenyans are. We are always blaming somebody. We are always blaming systems that don't work, governance structures that don't work. And so we sit there waiting for these systems to work. We sit there waiting for these structures to work. And in the process, the country is going to the dogs in terms of our values and our ethics. So that's why I chose not to talk about the kind of things that Onyango has talked about. Did you say we are Onyango? Lennox, what he has talked about. Indeed, we could refine our systems. We could refine our structures. We could strengthen how things work. And that is prerogative of the government and the relevant agencies that are supposed to be there, so that we can get better service delivery in every sector. But I deliberately chose not to go that direction, because all of you would be lifting up your hands and saying, now you are talking, Bishop, and you know. But we will not go far. Mine was to bring a challenge to us, as individuals, wherever we are, that to know that we can actually make a difference. You as a person, young or old. Let me give you another example. Now that you're talking about history, anybody has heard about William Wilberforce? William Wilberforce. William Wilberforce was the man behind the abolition of slavery in the UK British Parliament. William Wilberforce, at the age of 25, are there 25-year-olds here? Are there people younger than 25? Many. William Wilberforce saw the slavery and what was happening, and he decided this cannot continue. Slavery had become normal. It was a normal business, the way we sell goats and cows. It was normal business. But he felt in his spirit and his heart, this cannot continue. He contested to enter the British Parliament, and he won and got into Parliament at age 25. He lobbied against the barons and the big guys who are well-funded and well-connected until a law was passed abolishing slavery. Did you talk about the power of one? He was alone. He didn't have a coalition. He was not in ODM. He was an independent candidate, but a person with a passion, with a vision, with a desire to make a difference. At the tender age of 25, he was able to move in British Parliament against all odds, and slavery, the law against slavery was written and passed, and that's what eventually led to the abolition of slavery. So, yes, systems can be refined, yes, structures can be refined, and yes, we are lobbying and working towards getting things to work better, and we cannot excuse deficiencies, but we cannot sit back and wait for them to be refined. We cannot sit back and wait for things to get better. We must say, I am going to do my part, no matter how small. And we are not asking you to abolish slavery. We are simply asking you, where you are, don't allow a fake A to pass. Don't allow a bribe to be given in your presence. Don't allow somebody to give bursary to the people that voted for him and leave deserving children. Those are the small things that we can do in each and every of our corners, and this country can begin to move forward towards building a good culture that our friend, another friend from Alliance, talked about. Culture comes from bottom up. Pun intended. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We are closing because it's been a very enlightening session, Bishop. And thank you to everybody who's participated here. I just want to close before we do a thunderous applause to the Bishop, just to reiterate what he said and what everybody else, many have said. For you to hold somebody else accountable, you've got to hold yourself accountable first. You have to have the moral authority to ask me a question, so that you remove that unaniuliza kama nani retort, right? So we have to start by holding ourselves accountable as a people, as individuals, as members of a family unit, as members of a bigger community and then society. It must start with us. There's a whole issue of civic education, and I agree, and I think, Bishop, it's a big one, and I think it's a challenge that the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and others ought to take up. Civic education, we conduct voter education once close to the election, and then thereafter, we sit back, and we expect that everybody is on board. We expect that the young gentlemen who have joined us this morning from Kikuyu and all their colleagues, even from the neighboring schools, understand what our civic rights are. We have a responsibility to have civic education for all of us. Political parties, this is your job. It is expected of you to actually have civic education. Kweli Rongo? Kweli. I want to read Chapter 1 of the Constitution of Kenya. Sovereignty of the people and supremacy of the Constitution. Article 1, sovereignty of the people. Article 1:1, all sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya and shall be exercised only in accordance with his constitution. Sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya. The people begins with the individual and then the collective. True? 1, 2. The people may exercise their sovereign power either directly or through their democratically elected representatives. Either directly or through their democratically elected representatives. So even if you have a representative, it is you who has put that representative into office and delegated your power to them. So when we sit back and we say, you know, we are forgetting that it is our responsibility, that it's us in exercise of our sovereign power that have put them there. And we have the power to remove them from that. And we have the power to demand that they do their job. And if they don't do their job, we have the power to exercise our sovereignty. Okay? Remember that. We, the people, are the sovereign. When the bishop challenged us, let's start with us. If you feel that the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is not doing what it's supposed to be doing, let us tell it. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And we demand that you do it. Okay? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like us to stand up, please. Even the banner has stood up. I'd like us to put our hands together. Now, I know we have some comrades here. I don't want to, no, we're not going to do a comrade cheer. But let's put our hands together and clap to our keynote speaker this afternoon, the chairman of the Ethics and Corruption Commission, Bishop Emeritus, Dr. David Odinga. Now, weka mikono hivi pamoja. Just put the hands together. Start rubbing your hands. Okay, let's hear it. Rub them louder. Rub them louder. Start clapping softly. Soft clap, not slow, soft. Louder, 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 louder. Bishop, this is for you. Bishop, this is for you. 1, 2, 3. Wow. Ya nguvu. Asante sana. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us. There's more.
Tutaangalia mambo yako.
Bwana Executive Director.
Thank you. We have the next session coming up on cost and quality of education. So please don't transition. Thank you very much, Dr. Oginde, for having this session with us. We will have you just say hi to the 18 and below as you exit. Asante.
Now he's properly citizen, joining the Wow. His work is to just take you to see what the high schools are doing.
After this picture, Bishop.
No, not him. I thought nobody would want to take a picture with high schools. Bishop. Only those who are not corrupt. Yeah. We don't have corrupt. Integrity. Not corrupt the photo. These are people who have repented. They don't want anything corrupt. Do your part. I will.
tunaendelea sawa.